All
Okay,
right.
here we go.
Okay, we're recording. All right. Hi, Wendy. It's so great to have you back and to see you.
Nice to see you again, Karen.
Okay, well, for the audience, I'm so excited to introduce you to Wendy Strgar. She is here with us today. She was going to be one of the speakers at the Women's Health Panel in April that was originally pre-COVID-19 was going to happen in a couple of weeks. And the reason why I'm so excited to have Wendy here is not only is she a sex educator, a lovologist, she's an award-winning entrepreneur, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. She's a writer. She's written at least two books. I know one, Sex That Works, A Women's Guide to Embracing the Erotic, and another one, Love That Works, awesome book, A Guide to Enduring Intimacy. But, and on top of that, she's a pioneer in the organic personal care industry, which is something she and I have in common. She's just leaps and bounds ahead of me. And again, why I want to talk to her today is because she is the founder and CEO of Good Clean Love, which is a huge company today. And so I'm just thrilled that she's here. And Wendy, I was hoping that we could start with your story, because when I first met you, I found your personal story so inspiring and so inspirational. So I wanted you to kind of talk about how did Good Clean Love come about?
Well, so first of all, thank you for your kindness. I don't know if I'm nearly as accomplished as you make me out to be, but that was very generous of you. I would say that I am just like this company. I have always found in life that necessity is the mother of invention. And, when we are active learners and participating in our life, then we, all face problems and obstacles and issues. And I think what makes our life what it is what we do with them, truthfully, right? And so when I started Good Clean Love, I had just had my fourth child, and I was a big, sort of, mothering magazine nurser for like many years. I nursed all my children. So with each subsequent child, you have more and more vaginal dryness. So, and also as we grew in Good Clean Love, truthfully, the problems that I experienced from, being a mother and having so many children and so many live births, I had a terrible vaginal prolapse, on and on, right, which I had surgically repaired. And so I had all the symptoms that many of the women who come to us have, experience. And so I started just because I also was the product of one of the very first divorces in Long Island. It was an incredibly scarring experience. And I think from a very young age, like when I started therapy at 13, my therapist introduced this idea to me that, this family that you were born into is maybe not your family, and that you could make a family, you can invent that experience for yourself. So I think I was always driven to understand what it was that separates people who are intimately bonded with other people, and when you don't have that, because that was a lot of my growing up experience. So when I had all these kids and I was trying to stay married to this man, and ours is an unconventional marriage, even though it's 38 years old, and that we are as opposite as we can be. He's a psychiatrist, very quiet, very unassuming, one of the nicest people you'll meet. I think I'm nice too, but I'm much more like I don't want to say aggressive, assertive. I speak my mind, even when it's unpopular. He's not like that at all, So that was, we've run into issues over many years, but our sex life was the place which was always, fortunately for us, the glue for us. So when the sex stopped working, when I was about 39, 38, I had 4 kids. I had no designs on becoming a single mom with 4 kids. And I was really dedicated to finding a solution. And that's how Good Clean Love came. So initially it was essential oil products, which we talked about the other day. And, and love oils literally transformed my marriage. We thought we had somehow gotten better, but really it was the magic was in the bottle. And when we ran out of it, I was like, shit, I have to figure out how to do this. And then slowly, as time evolved, you know, we had customers and they said, you know, you need a water-based lubricant. And then, you know, we tried to make that in the kitchen. Of course, you can't make water-based products in a kitchen, no matter how clean it is, you know, sterile environments. And so it's just been a long evolution. I've been working at this, you know, close to 20 years. And I think my greatest key of success is that I'm a terrible quitter.
I love it.
So
I haven't heard you say that yet. That's great.
I, so I feel like persistence in anything we do is really the thing that sets us apart, truthfully, from other people. And and because I really never really engaged with this, I mean, it was more of a problem solving thing for me. My husband was a physician, so we had a nice house. I didn't need to make money on this, so I never did make money for like decades, really. Like for the first 15 years, I never paid myself. And there was just a moment where we took too much out of our credit line, our house second mortgage or whatever. And then it was like, no, the business has to just like be on its own or it's going to stop. And so, you know, we hit those moments. But, you know, I always say, and I think it's true about everything, but I know it's been true about Good Clean Love, is that when you make decisions about what you're doing and money is the basis of your decision making, you're asking the wrong questions. So I was very privileged to be able to make choices about the product development and about the way I wanted to run the business, that I could focus it around, you know, doing the responsible environmental thing. I mean, I was always able to ask questions that was not linked to money. And there's people in my business today that still question that, but and sort of push back on that. But I really think that when we're really doing our real work, you know, the how much money we make or we don't make is really like, that can never be the guiding light. And I think in too many places, for way too many things, which is what I think is coming up in this pandemic, you know, that we make choices for the enrichment of few, and that we as a community, as a culture, suffer when our choices are directed by that. So Good Clean Love was a product of me not quitting, having deep personal needs that translated into not just sexual health needs, but personal care, feminine hygiene needs. And that I was very blessed. I met some really smart people early on, because, you know, again, we weren't driven by money. So when organizations like HIV Alliance came to us and said, will you donate? You know, we have said, of course we would donate to HIV Alliance. And that then in turn became the way that we became really involved in a lot of high level science, because our product was flagged as, you know, isoosmotic, which only became meaningful close to a decade later.
Right, right.
And so I think that the universe is a guiding force if you are allowing yourself to be guided by real work. So
Oh,
that's what I would say about my life.
yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You added some extra flavor there that is really meaningful, especially around the financial piece and your purpose and your passion, because that touches a chord with me and the Women's Health Panel, right? I started that as a philanthropic effort, and that's how I met you. Was I want this woman to come speak, because my goal was zero about money. It was about how do we get the word out there for women. And so I love that
Yeah.
you shared that. I wanted to go into kind of how you were ending on a little bit more of the science piece of it, Wendy. And I remember when you shared with me a journal article from the New England Journal of Medicine, and it was all about the vaginal biome and the research that is really kicking off in this area, and how important it is, because 5 to 10 million hospital visits, or not hospital, doctor visits nowadays for women are attributed to some sort of vaginal infection. And can you tell us a little bit about the research that's being done in that area, and
Yeah.
why it's so important?
Yeah. This is actually probably the most exciting part of my work and what I'm most motivated about. So if you think back 10, 15 years, nobody ever thought of their stomach or their digestion as a biome. And now pretty much anyone, almost anyone who could read, you would tell you that the gut is a biome, and that's why probiotics has become such a huge industry. Well, it turns out that actually the way that the gut works and the mucosal membrane that makes up the gut actually occurs in many other places. Our mouth is a biome, our nose is a biome, our eyes, they're all made of mucosal membrane, right? And so is our vagina, right? Our whole pelvic floor area is actually a vaginal biome. And it's an incredibly complex system, just in the same way that the digestive system is really complex. And in the same way, each of those biomes maintains a balance by having good bacteria propagate there. So the bacteria is different in your mouth or in your eyes or in your gut, but there's a specific family of lactobacilli that keeps the vaginal biome balanced. And natural things, natural occurrences, just in the same way in the gut, will knock you out of balance. That's true in the vagina, right? So, when you bleed and you have your menstruation cycle, or when you, have sex, there's a lot of just natural sort of occurrences that sort of make that balance a dynamic process. But the point is that in a healthy vaginal biome, you can have inflammation, and then the biome finds its balance. And then, so every time you cycle, for instance, when you begin your cycle with your period, that's an inflammatory response where your whole vaginal lining is sloughing off. And then you're supposed to have a few weeks in the middle where you're balanced, and that's where you can become pregnant, right? That's the whole point of a healthy biome, ultimately, is reproduction. That's why, for the gut, it's digestion, so that we can process food and get, minerals and vitamins and excrete the unnecessary. But in the vaginal biome, the goal of that biome is reproduction. And so then when you are building the lining at the end of the cycle, it's also inflammatory, right? But there's this period of time in between. But when you have bacterial vaginosis, basically you have inflammation throughout that whole cycle. And what happens is that your body is just not communicating what it needs to, because it's dealing with inflammation in order for healthy reproduction to occur. We know that that also impacts if you're pregnant and you have BV, you have a lot of negative consequences: preterm labor, low birth weights. So we know that that maintaining a quality of a biome, a healthy biome, is really important. And this is new information, to be fair. When I started this business, I had no idea about any of that. And it's really only in the last maybe 3 years that leading doctors are starting to address the vaginal health as a biome. And I really think that as time moves forward, we're doing a lot on our part to do a lot of education, because there's a lot of research that's been done in different areas. But truthfully, women's health in general is one of the least researched and least expended areas in medical research. I mean, when you consider something like endometriosis, which is a huge problem for millions of women, tens of millions of women, 1 in 10 women has endometriosis. Yeah. And it can take a decade. It can take 10 years to get that diagnosis. Right. So that's like really kind of insanity, really. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And because it takes such a long time to understand what's going wrong, by the time people understand it, 70% of all women with fertility issues end up being endometriosis patients. So, this is where my anger starts to kick in about women's health.
Yeah, and, well, at least it's right, finally making progress. I mean, and it's
Yeah,
people too, right? Pioneers like you, it's doctors like Taylor that I interviewed the other day that actually see the inequity and are
yeah,
really speaking up about it, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, so sorry, I just have to let my dog in here because she's just gonna be singing. Come on. Um, but so yeah, so all of our product development is really about how to enhance the health of the biome, you know, and really a lot of times when you look at the most evolved science, it's really about biomimicry. So we're not looking to change something, we're just looking to support an existing system. And and so that's basically what our Biomatched products do. And all of our lubricants also, right? They don't add or subtract any water from the biome. They don't disturb the lining in the biome. They just support the structures that exist to maintain balance.
Right.
And
And it's not
so,
disruptive. It's not disruptive. That's why I love
yeah,
this, you know.
so a lot of women, it makes me cry, really, you know, will write to us and say that they've gone to 10 doctors over 7 years, and the first thing that's ever helped them is our restore or our balance wash, just a wash, mind you, you
Wow.
know, because if you learn what's in other products, you know how unbelievably harmful it is. It's actually amazing to me that it's legal, truthfully, but you
Yeah,
know,
I agree, right? Because
yeah,
why I
it's
created
weird.
when I was in my cancer recovery, why I created some of my own lymph body care because there was no way I was going to
Yeah.
put any
Well, I
more.
think I told you when we were on the phone that I talked to a guy who's at one of the leading cancer treatment centers in the country. Lovely man. He said that the conversation I was having with him about biomatched palliative care, like it was the first time he had had any conversation in 26 years of doing just extensive, you know, I know they're trying to save women's lives, but someday we're going to see how barbaric these treatments are because we're going to have something much more evolved to work on cancer with. But like I said, what do you help women with during these treatments or after? And there's no standard of care, like
Right,
none.
right.
So anyway, I'm excited because maybe we're going to be able to put together a little protocol and give some women some support.
Yeah, and you know, even though the health panel was canceled due to COVID-19 or postponed due to COVID-19, you know, women still want this information and desire to learn more.
Yeah,
They don't know. Like you said, I think what I found most fascinating about the first two panels was women don't know what they don't know yet. So it
yeah,
opens up this whole can of worms.
right.
So anyway, before we finish up here, I did want to, so I love the Good Clean Love products. And, you know, when we post this on Instagram, I'll put your website and everything and all the
Mm-hmm.
information there for everyone. But I also wanted to have you talk about what you're doing this month on, in April on your special
Uh,
on orgasm, because
yeah,
like,
mastering the mystery.
yeah, so
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
us a snippet about that and how people can find out, how they can join.
yeah. So actually, I was doing an interview like this because you know we do this a lot now. Now that we can't go anywhere, we do this a lot. But I do these on a weekly basis. These kinds of interviews on Instagram Live. Wendy Wednesday, one of my employees coined them, and this woman who had made a product to control the depth of penetration, which was really empowering for her. And I think for a lot of women who have painful sex,
Was it the
um,
ONUT? Was it the ONUT?
the ONUT. Um,
Awesome. Yep. Okay, she was one of my sponsors. Yeah.
yeah. But as we kind of dove into the conversation, it seemed like some really basic tips that would really help with painful sex had never been communicated to her, you know. So then I thought to myself, I need to be everybody's Jewish mother for 5 minutes and give some basic helpful information so that we can start to unravel this mystery of orgasm, which for so many people really remains, I mean, I think it's the holy grail, because really it is sort of a reset button that resets our emotional, mental, spiritual, physical life unlike anything. For me, it's really been a way that I really feel really deeply connected to a higher power. And it has really been something that's helped me maintain the rest of the mess of my marriage for a long time. Um, but that said, there's a lot of conversations that, like the first one that we talked about last week when you and I spoke, is just like, what does it feel like? How do you know when it's happening? Because there's actually a lot of confusion, both women who are orgasming and don't know they are, who have physical signs of orgasm, and women who have no physical signs of orgasm but think they are. So there's a real like disconnect, and also just this crazy amount of pornography which shows us what we think it looks like, but that's just a fictional and not even good fiction, that we compare ourselves against something. But so how do we start to feel and know the feeling of release? How do we become like safe with that moment of surrender where our body takes over and guides us? So today we're putting out a piece about the anatomy of orgasm, and how the pleasure systems are built into our body, which many women just don't know. And to be fair, I was close to 40 before the information was even a discovery. So it was like 1997 before a woman in Australia kind of did some MRI and did the research and really understood the whole clitoral system, not just like a little gland on our top of our vagina. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot to know and learn,
Mhm.
and I think that there's a lot of room for more real conversations about it.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're doing it. And I will, so for the audience again, it's goodcleanloving.com, and I'll put the link Wednesday, Wendy's Wednesdays. So every Wednesday
Yeah,
she's on
yeah,
TV.
that's an Instagram thing. Yeah.
And so, yeah, just keep your eyes out.
And there's actually a love oil giveaway, thanks to you,
Oh,
that we're doing right now. So there's a link to that, and if they just go to goodcleanlove.com, they'll see all those resources and a lot of education about the things that we were talking about earlier.
yeah, I even loved one of your posts earlier this week, and I was just like, I love that. And it's just a
Yeah,
lot.
we're doing like meditation and de-escalating at home, and really trying to learn how to be with ourselves in a way that we've really never been faced with before.
Right. And
Yeah.
it takes confidence in a woman to have the compassion for herself and her body and to explore that, right? So anyway, Wendy, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sorry, I got a little bit,
No, that's okay.
it's not supposed to happen when I say do not disturb.
Oh, that's
But
okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining
listen,
today.
thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And, for sure, we're going to jump back on an Instagram Live and talk about more things soon. So thanks for putting me in your lineup and all that.
Of course. We'll see you again
Yeah,
soon, and stay safe and healthy and happy.
you too.
Okay.
Take care now.
Bye. You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.